All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin this lesson by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Wahar Rakak Wadash, which is ancient Hebrew for the name of the Heavenly Father, His beloved Son, and the Holy Spirit. Also want to give double honors to the head apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom. Much due honors and respect to you brothers out there that's also laboring in this work. So this lesson right here is going to be centered around the book of Obadiah, which is one chapter long. And when you consider the book of Obadiah, although it's a small book, is very impactful. You know, it says a lot, especially concerning the times we're in now, and concerning Esau, the nation of Edom, the so-called white man. And one thing I noticed about the book of Obadiah is it's like a hidden book. If you flip through the scriptures, you're going to, more time than not, skip over Obadiah. And it was set up that way in the spirit. It's like a hidden treasure. All right? And when you go into the history, a lot of the scholars and historians, you know, they say Obadiah was one of the richest men, you know, in that time. But he exhausted a lot of his resources to help the prophets. And there's accounts where Obadiah even hid, I think it was 50 prophets in a cave, you know. And I believe his name means servant of the Most High, or either slave of the Most High, or something along those lines. And really, when you consider Obadiah, is somewhat of a foreshadowing of the prophets today, the men primarily here at Great Millstone, because we are overlooked and we are considered small. You know, we don't have schools and flashy garments, all right? We just got that blue-collar workman type spirit, all right? And we get on Esau. We reveal Esau. And that's a part of prophecy. Matter of fact, before I go into the book of Obadiah, since I mentioned that, let me get a quick precept. 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter and the 8th verse, it says, "And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming." Yeah, and that's what we do here at Great Millstone. We reveal who the wicked is, man. All right? And that's what Obadiah, the book of Obadiah, is dedicated to. Revealing the wicked, Esau. And that was his lot. That was his portion from Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh. So let's go into it. This is Obadiah, the 1st chapter and the 1st verse. It says, "The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord power concerning Edom." Right? And who is Edom? Edom is the so-called white man. And I bet, you know, whatever, that these pastors and preachers out of all these churches, you know, I challenge anybody out there, you know, to think back and recall whenever your pastor or preacher, whenever you was up in these churches, ever brought out the book of Obadiah, man. All right? You're never going to hear a peep out of these so-called religious leaders, those who claim to know the scriptures. You never hear a word about Obadiah, all right? Because the vision he received was concerning Edom, the so-called white man. And with a lot of these churches, they're under that 501c3 charter, where they got restrictions. They can't teach certain things, all right? So it says, "We have heard a rumor from the Lord." And who is this rumor being heard from? The prophets. We are the ones who are publishing that rumor. Matter of fact, let me get a quick precept. This is Amos 3:7. It says, "Surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets." Yeah, so we have received the secret. And one thing about this secret, this one secret that you can't keep a secret. This is one of those secrets that you can't keep quiet about. All right? This is a secret that is so much of a powerful secret that you are compelled to tell that secret. You got to share that secret. All right? Which makes it a rumor. You know, if you hear something, then they say you spread rumors. So that's what we doing here. We are the ones who are pushing and publishing that rumor. All right, it says, we have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her and battle. Right, and this is what you're seeing taking place. You see Iran being stirred up. All right, the Persians being stirred up. All these different nations is being stirred up and rising up against America, or the so-called white man, in battle. And even amongst America's allies, all right, this nuclear deal with Trump walked away from, you got Germany and all these different allies, they not in agreement with that, man. So everything we've been saying is beginning to come into play, all right? But you see Obadiah, which again, this is a hidden book. You rarely hear anybody touch on this book, but this book is powerful. It says a whole lot, especially as it concerns the times we're in now. All right? Verse 2, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. Yeah, you got to remember, this is a vision concerning Edom, the so-called white man. And they are small among the heathen right now. All right? These different nations don't look at America as it once looked at America. It's lost its luster, you know? And they are greatly despised. Speaking on Iran again, Iran coined America, then so-called white man, as the great Satan, man. All right? And all these different nations despise America for all the policies, you know, the wicked deeds, you know, the sanctions that they hit up these different nations with. And the rest of the world is getting fed up with America. That's why they're going to rise up against her in battle. Verse 3, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Yeah, and this is no doubt, undoubtedly talking about the so-called white man and his fortress, which is America. They dwell in the clefts of the rock, meaning they're proud, and they lofty, right? They look down on the other nations. And even when you consider America, all right, the landscape of America, it's a replica of clefts and rocks. These buildings, you know, these skyscrapers. It says, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that's the thought process of the average American. Starting with Donald Trump. They don't believe that they're going to be brought down to the ground, man. Matter of fact, let me get a quick precept, the book of Psalms. Psalms, the 49th chapter, in the 11th verse. It says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Yeah, and this is dealing with the so-called white man. And their inward thought is that their houses is going to continue forever. And I have witnessed this firsthand, man. You know, you be at the workplace. I remember, for an example, I working with this young white boy. He was in the Air Force. And I had asked him, like, yo, what you feel about, you know, this was around the time when Kim Jong-un was testing the nuclear missiles. I was like, yo, what you feel about North Korea? You think they're a threat to America? He said, nah, we'll wipe them out in an hour. You know? So that's the mentality, the thought process of the so-called white man. They inward thought that their houses is going to last forever. All right? Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Yeah, and this is the heavy prophecy right here. Because when this was written, you didn't have, you know, the Roman Empire, which the Roman Empire mascot, if you will, was the eagle as well. Now you have America with the eagle. So you see how powerful the Bible in its entirety is, but how the book of Obadiah is very powerful, man. All right, it's placing Esau, the so-called white man, on the scene of the crime. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, which the eagle, when you really go into it, is the characteristics of Esau, the so-called white man. For an example, the eagle, they have keen eyesight, and that's symbolic to the so-called white man and his intelligence. You know, they have spies. They have, you know, these different, you know, they can spy, they spy you out. You know, they have cameras the size of a damn pinhead where they do documentaries on ants. You know, they got these satellites. Well, this is one of the characteristics of an eagle, all right? And they also fly on high and they attack you, all right, with bombs. When you consider all these different nations that preceded America, right, the ancient Egyptians, the Babylonians, you know, and Media Persian Empire, well, they never took flight. Now, America is the only nation that actually take flight, you know, in this current system right here. And when you go into the eagle, it also has claws, which those claws are symbolic to the laws, all right, the policies and laws that America set. Matter of fact, when you go into like a contract, it's a such thing in a contract called clause. And once the eagle get those claws in you, then you done, all right? So this is why America is known as the eagle, or the so-called white man. For thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, and when that's dealing with their space programs, all right? And really, when you go deep into that word nest, it means a place to store weapons. Because that's what those, when you go out to those space stations, they actually have weapons. Because they're anticipating the return of Yahweh Shah. And they looking to wage war against our Lord. All right, pursuing the Revelation 17th chapter. It say, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Yeah, and this downfall of the so-called white man began in the late 60s, like 69. After they went up into the space, that's when the so-called white man began to fall, because the glory years of Esau was the 50s and 60s. But they began to go down like in the late 60s after they went up into space, which was a fulfillment of the scripture, because when you go into the late 60s, that's when you had Woodstock, and the so-called white man began to, you know, smoke weed and drugs, you know, began to become hippies, and, you know, they started, you know, following out the so-called Negroes. You know, you had so-called white people listening to Jimi Hendrix and patterning themselves after the so-called. Well, that was the fall right there. That when they began to come down. Verse 5: if thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? Yeah, and that's the Lord showing you how greedy this devil is, man. All right, for anybody who take water is your God-given right. Water comes with the earth. Well, these devils will take water and package it up and sell it to you, man. All right, these devils charge you for breathing, man. Literally, you got to pay taxes. And they actually create the currency, man. But it just shows you how greedy these devils are. Verse 6, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are the hidden things sought up? Yeah, and that's by way of Yahweh Shah through his prophets. We are searching out Esau, and his hidden things is sought out. And what's one of the main hidden things? The fact that there's an Illuminati, there's a secret society, a shadow government, which for years, this was secret, man. Nobody knew about that. When you consider these banking families, the Rothschilds, you're not going to see them on any TV shows. You're not going to see them on the front of Forbes magazine. Why? Because they like to deal behind the shroud of secrecy, which shows that they're wicked. When you're doing the wrong thing, you're going to tiptoe around, all right? Why? We found out that the rulers of this world It's the banker families. They should have came out and let it be known. It proves that they wicked. Verse 7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Yet, meaning all America's allies is going to eventually turn on him. Verse 8, shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And you witnessing that. All right? For an example, Donald Trump. This guy is the commander-in-chief, and he's waking up at 3 in the morning sending out tweets, man, like he's a teenage girl. All right? That's a form of the Lord destroying the wise men out of Edom and understanding out of Esau. And really on a bigger, broader level, Esau usually will have a way to combat any resisting force. You know, when you had the Black Panthers or whatever group that came up against Esau, they was able to silence them. But now the Spirit of the Lord got us exposing this devil, and he's confounded. All right? He's cornered off. That's the Lord destroying the wise men out of Edom. It says, and the mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mount of Esau shall be cut off by slaughter. Right, and it says everyone. You got these guys out there who say it's going to be a few Edomites to make it. No, the Lord said each and every one of you are going to be cut off by slaughter. And rightfully so. And this is the reason why. Verse 10, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, which you can go back into the times of slavery, all right, where they castrated us hungers. Hey, just watch some of these period pieces, 12 Years a Slave, Roots, all right? Goodbye, Uncle Tom. They show you how the so-called white man dealt violently against Jacob. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. All right? So, for the interest of time, let me jump down. Verse 16, for as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. Yeah, because not only Esau, but all the other nations drunk upon the Lord's holy mountain. Meaning what? They came up against his people, the children of Israel. But that's going to be turned on them. Verse 17, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, which is what? The children of Israel, in particular the elect in the 1/3. And there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. Right, and this is dealing with the nation of Israel as a whole. And the house of Esau, the so-called white man, for stubble. See, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord have spoken it. Right, so Esau is going to be extinct. It's going to become a time where you're going to be talking about the so-called white man like the dinosaurs, man. And it's the spirit, because the so-called white man got an infatuation with extinction. Or they always like to talk about animals that's extinct, on the brinks of extinction. Well, they're going to be the ones that's extinct, man. All right? So, yeah, I'm gonna end it there. But, you know, it's good to go and read this book, Obadiah, because, like I said, it's a very powerful book, although it's small. All right? So, with that, shalom.